Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome to this episode of 49 Faithfully. I'm your host, Miriah Lee, joined by my co host, Teran Lewis. TL, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just enjoy being back in Nevada. As you know, I was in Phoenix for a few days, and I'm back, and it was cool. I had fun. Went to downtown Scottsdale, hung out there. Their club scene's pretty lit, and it was pretty cool. And then I went to Orlando Magic game while I was there, and it didn't turn out the way we did. It's unfortunate that my team's the worst team in the NBA, and we played the best team in the Phoenix Suns. So,
Yeah.
but it was still
Well,
fun.
yeah, and you made it back safely, so that's
Yeah.
good.
So yeah. Other
So,
than
yeah,
that, yeah.
that's why we didn't have a show last week because my co host left me, so I wasn't going to sit here and talk to myself for 2 hours. But yeah, a lot of stuff has happened since we last were here. And with it being the off season, I would think like, oh, what are we going to talk about? There's going to be nothing to talk about all off season, and it's already been pretty eventful. Um, Started off, we had the Super Bowl since we last came on here. The Rams ended up winning that, as we figured. It's kind of funny. What I want to get your takes. I haven't heard what you thought about the game. Did you even watch it?
Yeah, I actually did watch it. It was a pretty decent game. As much as I hate the Rams, I'm happy that my mom got to see another Super Bowl because she's a diehard Rams fan.
Yeah.
So she got to see. It's been a long time since she got to see one too. As a matter of fact, I was in Chicago just getting out of boot camp when the Rams won the Super Bowl the
Oh,
last time
yeah.
against the Titans. So it was 20 years ago when they won. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, I feel like the game was okay. Like I felt like, man, I honestly thought when Odell went down, I thought the Rams were going to lose. I
Yeah.
was like, man, like they're sick because they're already without Tyler Higbee, like he wasn't playing,
Yeah.
and then the fact Odell went down, like, oh man, it's a wrap. But yeah, no, it was a pretty good game. I feel like the refs had their hands in it a bit towards the end, with the flags and stuff like that. But hey,
Yeah.
you and I talk about this all the time, so it wasn't a surprise to see the refs get involved. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I didn't know that your mom's a Rams fan. My stepdad and all my, my stepbrother and my stepsisters, they're all Rams fans. So my mom, she's an Eagles fan, but she supports the Rams because that's her husband's team too. So
Yeah,
um, so yeah, it was good to see them get the win. Although I'd rather the Bengals have won.
sure.
Um, But yeah, I think it was kind of interesting. The refs, they didn't want to be involved in the whole game until the last, little bit there. And then they start flagging freaking everything. Um, but I don't think that it really mattered because there was stuff that they didn't call flags on earlier in the game that, like that the Bengals on that touchdown, clear freaking face mask there and didn't get called. And that would have been 7 points that the Bengals didn't have. So who knows how it would have really turned out, but it is what it is. It's over. We don't have to hear about it. Did you see their parade and stuff? Did you see anything from there?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, and of course, us faithful had a kick with it, kick about it because everybody was just like, I mean, it was truly pathetic to the crowd. They like, if that was truly like the people who showed up, the Rams fans should be embarrassed. But then I heard a lot of people who live down there saying that, like, when the Rams left LA and went to St. Louis, it kind of put a bad taste in their mouths.
Yeah.
So then they came back and then it pissed off the St. Louis fans. So it's like, the Rams doing all that moving around kind of diminished their fan base a little bit. But still, you would think they've been there now, 3 years,
Yeah.
that you would think some of the fans would be back. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if they just showed. But from what I heard, though, the photos that were showed were like an hour before the parade. So I don't know how many
Mm-hmm.
people actually got there during. But yeah, I mean, if it was the 49ers, those streets would have been packed.
Yeah.
You would have had to have San Francisco PD, Santa Clara PD, like everybody would have had to been there to make sure it was safe. But yeah,
Yeah, I did see like in the videos during the actual parade that the streets did look like there were more people there, but still not how you're used to seeing like championship parades. And then, like, a lot of the Rams fans, I seen that they were trying to blame it on, oh, well, it was a Wednesday. It was Wednesday, right? Yeah. It was a Wednesday, so we had to work and we couldn't get out of work. And, that seemed to be like the common excuse that they were using, that they had to work.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's my team, I'm calling in. I don't give a shit.
For real.
I already told my wife that she better be prepared that when San Francisco wins the Super Bowl, because we're going to have to take a quick flight to San Francisco to celebrate.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, there's been tons of just weird talk going on. And it's interesting that it's not even with the faithful. It's like all these, talking ex-players and I don't know, random freaking weird people. And the discussion lately seems to be about Trey Lance. And it's funny that, for the last few months, we hadn't really heard of Trey Lance, like nobody was allowed to ask questions about him. He wasn't allowed to talk to the media. We weren't allowed to know what he was doing, like nothing, no words about Trey Lance. And now all of a sudden, that's all we're hearing is Trey Lance. And the common thing against the people talking bad about him is that he's not ready. So before we jump into that, let me ask you this. What is the definition of, to you, he's not ready? What does that mean?
To me, this is my opinion. To me, not ready means that you don't know the playbook. Because obviously we know what he can do as a quarterback. We know he can throw. We know he can run. We know he's smart. So when the coach comes out, mid-season or so, and says that Trey Lance is smart, he knows the entire playbook, all he needs is reps. So in my opinion, he's ready. So as long as you know the whole playbook, and also, it's not like Fred Warner and Jimmy Ward came out and said that, oh, yeah, Trey's struggling a little bit. He needs more time with the scout team. They were saying that Trey Lance was tearing up the first team defense. So if that's not ready, I don't know what is.
Yeah. I feel like Trey gets a bad rap because he had to sit, right? And it seems like the common theme now is, well, he couldn't beat out Jimmy, so he's no good. He couldn't beat out Jimmy during the season to take the job, so he sucks. But what everybody was so happy with was that the 49ers were letting Trey sit this whole season to learn behind Jimmy because he hadn't played. Right? We got all this praise that, the 49ers, they get to sit Trey Lance, he's so young, he needs this time to sit, blah, blah, blah. And now, because they sat him, it's Trey Lance's fault for not being ready. So it's crazy. And you have people like, Joe Montana coming out and saying, that Trey Lance isn't ready, and he's heard from players that he's not ready. You had Ryan Clark coming out saying that Trey Lance can't throw, that they should trade, that Trey Lance can't throw. Did you not watch the Texans game? Did you not watch him? Have you fucking not watched anything? To say Trey Lance can't throw, that they should trade Trey Lance and Jimmy, both of them, to Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers, because Green Bay wants the 10 quarterbacks. I don't know, but now you have Steve Young coming out and saying that Trey Lance isn't ready. What is your take on all this that's being said?
Well, how much time do we have? No, I'm just playing. I just want to shout out to everybody in the chat too. Thank you guys for tuning in. I know some of you are on the East Coast and it's about almost 11 o'clock, so we appreciate that. Me and Miriah are actually going to be working on starting to do it a little bit earlier if we can, so just be patient with us. Okay, well, let me start off with Ryan Clark. He needs to sit down somewhere. For him to sit here and make that comment and say that, oh, he can't throw and stuff like that. Obviously, he doesn't watch the games. He's going off of what he feels. because he just and it's funny too. I think he just brought up the Arizona game. He didn't even talk about the Texans game.
Right.
He's like, when I look at him in the Arizona game, he can't throw, and he was talking about his passes not being good and crisp and stuff like that. Like, come on,
Over
man.
and
Like,
over.
yeah, at least bring up his last game. Bring up the last game and be like, in Arizona, I didn't think he looked good, whatever the case may be. But against the Texans, I saw improvement. He threw a 40-yard dime to Debo. And and it was a pretty ball. It didn't even leave the frame. Like, it was a dart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that he's saying he can't throw, missed me with that. Like, he's come with some foolishness. But, we were talking in Spaces, and it was me, Jamal, Jesse, and Pinor and stuff. And we were saying that, what, I think some of this stuff is scripted to talk about, because I feel like, if everybody agreed with everybody, it'd be boring TV. If everybody sat there and said, oh, yeah, Trey Lance is going to be the next Josh Allen or whatever the case may be, as we can hope, it might be, oh, okay, like, it wouldn't be as interesting. So I really feel like some of this stuff is scripted, but, there's just some asinine takes that come on. At least if you're going to come with something like that, it's okay. Like, I'm okay with people saying that Trey Lance isn't ready if that's their opinion. Like, that's fine with me. I have no issue with that. But, to sit there and say, oh, he can't throw, he can't do this. No, like, you need to watch the tape, watch the game, and then come with me with that opinion, so I can challenge it. Because if you sat in front of me and you told me, oh, Trey Lance can't throw, I'm going to show you why he can. So that's my deal with Ryan Clark. So yeah, his take was absolutely horrendous. It was some foolishness. So he needs to go somewhere with that. Joe Montana, as we talked about on our last show 2 weeks ago, he's my GOAT, and he will be my GOAT until I see otherwise. Even though Tom Brady did do his thing, I still don't think he was a better quarterback per se than Joe Montana. I just looked at Joe Montana. He was just, he was amazing. So he's still my GOAT. So I have a lot of respect for him. And again, I have no issue with him saying he doesn't think that Trey Lance is ready. Him saying he's hearing players from the locker room, that wouldn't surprise me. Because we talked about all year how we felt like the locker room was kind of divided anyway. How we felt like there was some players who were riding for Jimmy, some who were riding for Trey. So, and I think that's normal when you have two starting quarterbacks in your locker room. Yeah. It's not like Trey was just trash and everybody was like, okay, no, it's Jimmy. Like, I feel like there was some division. I'm not going to say who, because I'm not sure. I think we can kind of speculate who we think. But I think the thing that pissed me off with Joe Montana the most is he said they need to retain Jimmy until they find another quarterback.
Yep.
Come on, bro.
So Trey Lance isn't even an option. Like, we just spent all that on him, and he's not even good enough to even make it on the field.
Yeah, like that right there. Like, I don't know what he's talking about, and I don't agree with Joe Montana at all. And I've been, it's funny because, there's been people bashing Joe Montana on Twitter and stuff like that. Some of the stuff was outlandish. Like, there was some stuff that people said was disrespectful. But at the same time, we're our own grown-ups, I guess you can say. We're all men and women. We got our own opinions. So I don't agree with him. And it's okay to say that you don't agree with Joe Montana. I don't care if he won 4 Super Bowls. My eye test shows me different than what he's saying. And it's okay to disagree with the Hall of Famer. Just because you've played football at a high level doesn't mean that your opinion is always right. I'm not saying that he doesn't know football. Obviously, he does. I'm saying his opinion for what he feels about Trey is not correct, in my opinion. Right. Because, all of us, majority of us, even people in the chat have seen, and there's people in the chat, I'm so hyped for Trey. Like, I don't care what the situation is, whether you watch football or not. There's no way that if you understand football just a little bit, that you can't see that second half of that Texans game and say, oh, I think we're going to be all right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. Like I said, I have all the respect in the world for Joe Montana, but his opinion on Trey and him, to me, what he said about keeping Jimmy until we find another quarterback is disrespectful.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful. Like, I don't care. And I get it. I feel like he's a little bit, everybody says that he's a little bit salty because how he was traded, and he was traded to Kansas City, and then they brought in Steve Young. So it is what it is, man. Joe Montana understands that the NFL is a business and it's entertainment. They're going to go with the best player available at that position. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of mind blown at his comments because the simple fact that, like I said, I'm all for him. I'm all for it if he just like, oh, if they want to keep Jimmy for another year, I just don't think Trey's ready. He needs another year, whatever the case may be. But, and I'll get to you in a second. But what we're talking about too, I think the Trey hate just comes from a few things. Like it comes from, people who wanted either Justin Fields or Mac Jones or Zach Wilson. They're going to hate on Trey as much as they can because they want to be right. What's up, Pinor? If Pinor was on the space, people are going to hate on Trey because they're like, well, I wanted Justin Fields or I wanted Mac Jones. And if Trey fails, they're looking for that so they can be right. Well, see, I told you, if we would have picked Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, it would have been a different story. You know what I'm saying? And then you got the people who, me and Pinor were talking. It was like, what have you done for me lately? People who don't understand the nuances of football. People don't nuances of football look at Jimmy and they look at, oh man, in 3 years he's taken us to a Super Bowl and an NFC championship. Why would you get rid of a quarterback? And look at his record. He has a winning record, and so people don't understand like a record is not a QB stat; it's a team stat. So most people are looking at it, outside the lines and not in between the lines and saying, okay, yeah, Jimmy's record as a starting quarterback is good. Yes, he contributed to the Super Bowl run, to the NFC Championship run, but he is not the reason why we got there. He's a part of it, but he's not the main reason. A great defense and a run game. So most people got their blinders on and don't understand that, the insides out of football, and they just think like, oh, well, there's no reason why. I mean, I have coworkers that sit there and don't understand, that watch other teams or like fans of other teams, and they look at Jimmy's record. Man, I was watching ESPN, and you guys trying to get rid of that quarterback? Why? He has look, his record is awesome. I'm just like, you guys don't get it. You guys aren't looking at the 49ers as a whole and look at the reason why his record is the way it is. So, yeah, so those are my sense. And the stuff on Steve Young, I didn't hear that. I don't know what happened with him and why he changed his tune on Trey. Because this whole year he's been saying that he thought that Trey should have been a starting quarterback all season. So I don't know I don't know what happened with Steve Young in his opinion, but
yeah, I thought I saved what he said because I had just seen that Steve.
Yeah, Troy is salty. Yeah, Joe is salty for real, but Ryan Clark, he's delusional to say he can't throw. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. I do have some people that said, things on the other side of it that, they're saying great things about Trey. But before we get into that, I wanted to touch on this. Did you see those clips that Javi posted on Twitter that has all of Twitter going crazy?
Yeah. It's funny, too, because it made it to Bleacher Report. Even Bleacher Report was like, I don't know how they worded it verbatim, so I'm kind of paraphrasing, but they were like, Trey Lance clips in practice shakes Twitter or something like that, something along those lines. So even Bleacher Report was talking about it, and and people were sitting there like, well, it's practice, and but look who he was throwing against. It was Josh Norman, and this and that. Ball placement is ball placement. I don't care who the corner is. He threw that ball outside the numbers in a tight window perfectly where only the receiver can get it. And Jimmy Ward was in on that coverage too. But like I said, people are going to sit there and they're going to be salty and, it was just practice. I could see him do that in a real game, blah, blah, blah. I'll go back and say what I said in the beginning. Fred Warner and Jimmy Ward came out in press conferences and said that Trey Lance is tearing up the first team defense. Period. End of discussion. So I don't want to hear what you fans have to say. If you have people who are up close and personal, seeing him shred the defense, that's saying something. So
yeah, we're gonna have a couple people that are gonna be guests on the show later, probably in March, and they were there for training camp this season, and it's odd to me that the reports coming out of training camp at the beginning were, Trey's making crazy throws. Trey's making this wow throw, that wow throw. And then all of a sudden, no more Trey talk, right? And then it was Trey lost his confidence. And then finally, we don't hear about Trey again, until he plays, he gets hurt, silence. And then, we don't start hearing about Trey again till the end of the season. And that's when the players are like, oh, he's tearing it up. He's this, he's that, and they're starting to say good things. And there's now all of a sudden videos leaking. You have Ayuk. Did you see the comment that he posted that was like, deep ball me, please?
Yep.
Like,
Deep ball me, please. Yep.
So you have all this stuff being said. So I just think it's odd that reports are coming out that the guy, and you can clearly tell when you look at the guy that, there's talent there, like he can be a very, very special quarterback if he puts everything together, right? But things were kept so hush hush. And then I heard today that how would the 49ers have because the 49ers were thinking about starting Trey Lance at the beginning of the season, and then he got hurt in preseason. So that comes out. And then it was, and then also we saw, Trey come in and score the first touchdown of the season, right? And all this. So, if Trey, and then we don't see Trey come in anymore, even in packages, nothing, right? So how would the 49ers have dealt with it if Trey's coming in and making wow plays, and now you have the locker room seeing that, you have the fans seeing that, you have the media seeing that, you have everybody in the world now seeing that. And previously we haven't seen nothing from the kid, right? So everybody's going to start clamoring more than they already were. Play the kid, why isn't the kid playing? Play the kid, play Lance, So it just seems, put my tinfoil hat on here. It just seems kind of funny that, the kid's special. He's making wow plays, and all of a sudden he loses his confidence. We don't see him. And now all of a sudden he's special again. Kyle and John are saying he's ready to start. They would have started him at the beginning of the season. Yada, yada, yada. Like shit's just very weird with the team this season. And this is just another example of that, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And this is where it gets laughable when you got people saying that Trey's not ready, because obviously Kyle thought he was.
Yeah.
For him to consider starting him in week 1. And then 2, he came out and said when we were 3-5 after that Colts game, he considered putting Trey in. But then Jimmy started winning games. Like, you know what I mean? Like we played the Bears, I believe, and that's when we went on that run. And then when he beat the Bears, it was like, okay, well, we'll see how this goes. So I think I have to give it up to Kyle. Like, even though I don't agree with how the quarterback situation was handled, like, everybody believes that if they couldn't find a trade partner for Jimmy, he should have just been cut. Just go ahead and cut him. However,
yeah,
I got to give Kyle his kudos because of the simple fact that he had a plan. He said it belonged. Like, I want to sit Trey Lance and develop him, this and that. So, and he stuck with it. Like, he didn't let the noise get to him. He didn't let the fans get to him. He was like, no, this is what my plan is going to be. And honestly, it might have worked out just because of the simple fact, and I get it. I know the ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl, and that didn't happen. When I say by it might have worked out is if we cut Jimmy in the offseason, if in 2021 we cut him, obviously there's no draft capital and stuff like that, but yet we can use his money for other things. However, we're looking at it now, and the fact that, this quarterback class is so terrible from what everybody's saying. And then like you going into here, there's talks right now that we can possibly get a late first for Jimmy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that works out, I gotta give John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan their credit because, I'm happy even if they get a second. If they get a second, I feel like it's a win because the simple fact now we go in there and I know we don't have a first, but if you can walk away with 2 seconds and then now you acquired that extra third from Mike McDaniel because of the team's success. Because if we would have went in there, we missed the playoffs, he might not have been a hot commodity.
Right.
But the fact that we went into the playoffs, run the NFC Championship, so now we're going into this draft with possibly 2 seconds and 2/3. So yeah, I mean, there's just so much stuff that has happened, and comments that have been made to prove that Trey Lance is ready. because like you just said, the beginning of the season, after the 3-5, Kyle said he considered it for Fred Warner and Jimmy Ward to say he's shredding the first team defense, and then for Kyle to say he knows the whole playbook, he just needs his reps. Those are like 4 or 5 indications that the man was ready.
Right.
So,
I mean, and I heard Croc, say this. It's like, what is he ready for? Is he ready to lead the team to a championship as a rookie? Probably not, because it's never happened before, right? But is he ready to lead the team to wins and, get the team rolling in the right direction? Yeah, probably he is. It's like, that's why I asked you, like, what is your definition of being ready? Because being ready can mean a whole slew of different shit to a whole, wide range of different things. And it's like, at this point, to me, I feel like the only way Trey can be ready any more than what he is right now is by playing.
Absolutely.
So let me touch on that real quick, because there's now rumors that, of course, about Aaron Rodgers coming to the 49ers, now about Brady coming out of retirement and coming to the 49ers. So these people are really ready to let Trey sit, right, for another year if we can get Aaron Rodgers, or if they're ready to trade Trey Lance away for Aaron Rodgers, for somebody that we could only have for 1 to 2 years and screw the future, What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and Brady coming to the team, and how Trey would get used in that situation?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and Pinar kind of touched on it in the chaps. I mean, the kid, he's the age of like a sophomore, junior in college right now. You know what I mean? So don't get me wrong, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, if they come here and we still have Trey on the team, I'm not going to be that upset, because those are Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It's not like they're saying bring in an Andy Dalton or a Mitchell Trubisky to start. They're talking about 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks that with this roster, and I know there's some pieces we're going to lose and stuff like that, but with this roster and these weapons, you can honestly say that 49ers can be the favorite going for a Super Bowl run with Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. So would I be disappointed? A little, just because I want to see Trey and I want to see him develop. At the same time, you can't complain of bringing in 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. The ridiculous issue with this is people who are wanting to trade him. Well, trade him so we can get Aaron Rodgers. No, I'm not doing that. And everybody thinks it's crazy. Like, what? You wouldn't trade to get a for sure Super Bowl? Well, who says it's for sure? Yeah. You know what I mean? And then 2, you want to trade away a 21-year-old quarterback with all this promise for a 38, 39-year-old vet who might give you 2 years, and then you're starting over again in 2 years when he retires. So that it doesn't make sense to me. Right. Let's just ride with the kid. And I've heard on Spaces too, there was some discussion these last 2 days. I want to give a shout out to Pine Nor. He's had some great Spaces these last couple of days. But I've heard people say, look at the Rams. They were aggressive. They went out and got a Jalen Ramsey, and then they went and got a Von Miller. Then they got, Odell Beckham in free agency, and they traded for Matthew Stafford, which, okay, cool. I get all that. I don't mind us being aggressive, but let's be aggressive for positions we don't need. I'd rather trade our draft capital. Like if you say, hey, you tell the Patriots, hey, I'll give you a 2nd and a 6th for J.C. Jackson. I'm taking that, because then that shores up the back end, because you have Ward, you have J.C. Jackson, you have Ambry Thomas. I mean, you have to just, hope for with either Tarvarius Moore or Funga. Or if you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to give up, another 2nd. Like, okay, to make a long story short, if we traded away both our 2nds and maybe like a 3rd-day pick, and we got an elite corner and elite edge, I'm not complaining, because that's the aggressive I would rather have, instead of trying to be aggressive and saying, oh, let's trade away our future quarterback that we traded 2 first-round picks for and swapped the first to get for a 2-year rental at quarterback, or maybe 1-year rental. That doesn't make any sense to me. So if you're going to be aggressive, be aggressive, getting some key pieces on that defense or offensive line, because I feel like our front 7 is pretty good. I do think we need a corner, and so that's what I would do if I was them. Go grab you an elite corner if you can afford it, and to get a good edge rusher to go play opposite Nick Bosa, and then and then whatever you have left, free agency and through the draft, then build your pieces and stuff like that. So that's what I would do. So like I said, it's a gamble either way, because then you bring in, but then again at the same time you bringing in Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. What are their salaries?
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, how are we paying them?
What are their salaries? If you come in and you pay Aaron Rodgers $40 million, now who you bringing back? You're going to lose Tomlinson. Now you're going to lose Tart. You're going to lose Jones. You're going to lose all your, like, you might be able to sign like a Art and Key and a Brunskill because they're lower level guys, but you're not keeping DJ Jones. You're not going to keep maybe a Juwan Jennings. He's a free agent. I don't even know, a lot of people didn't even know that he's a free agent. So yeah,
Shit, how you paying Bosa? How you paying
yeah,
Debo?
exactly. So
know?
so I just don't get it. I just don't see I don't see why they want to do that. I mean, I guess Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, they're proving that they can do more with less. So if you want to sacrifice them and getting Aaron Rodgers on his team, and then hopefully, his great quarterback play can make up for a mediocre to an average defense, then maybe. But I'm not willing. I don't know if I'm willing to gamble that for a 2-year rental. So
Yeah,
that's my
I'm
take.
not doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think that it happens anyway.
No. Well, it doesn't make sense. I mean, everybody said it could be a smoke screen, but I just don't understand why Kyle would have Trey Lance go down there with John Beck and train with him and do all that just to say, oh, you know what, Trey, all this was a waste of your time, and now you're going to Green Bay for it. You know what I mean? I just don't see that happening. I think they want to maximize his rookie contract, try to get a Super Bowl or maybe 2 in these next 4 years, and see what happens after that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, I completely agree. Before we jump into the things that were said good about Trey, I want to touch on, since we're talking about those quarterbacks, where do you think, now that we're at this point, I know we talked about it before a little bit, where we thought Jimmy was going to go, likely places, but now knowing what we know up until this point of free agency, what do you think are the most likely places that Jimmy ends up? And what do you think that we end up getting for him?
Okay, so I'm gonna start, because I feel like this quarterback stuff is gonna be a domino effect. It's gonna start with Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. They're gonna be the key pieces as to how and what we get for Jimmy, because if you're the Commanders, or if you're Pittsburgh, I'm sure you're gonna do your due diligence first and call Seattle and call Green Bay and say, hey, what do you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go in order. I think Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay. Russell Wilson, I think he goes to either Pittsburgh or maybe even Miami. And the reason why I say Miami is because, his wife is looking for a big market for her concert venues, because, even though she hasn't been doing concerts for a few years, because they've been raising the babies, like, she's ready to get back into entertaining. And Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson seem like they have kind of a, they're not really getting along. I feel like that relationship's kind of dead. Yeah. So I think it would make sense. Mike McDaniel would get him a proven quarterback in Miami. Pete Carroll can get him a nice young quarterback to move forward with, in Tua. You know what I'm saying? So I think you trade those two together, and of course you throw some pieces in there and stuff like that. So I think that would be a good destination for Russell Wilson, or maybe even they even said the Giants, which I don't know why. I feel like the Giants are worse than Seattle, but whatever. Yeah. I feel like with Jimmy and everybody, a lot of people are saying Pittsburgh. I get it if they want him as a bridge quarterback, but Mike Tomlin and his staff have always been a down the field type of offense who like to push the ball. With Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster, they got 3 elite receivers, 3 good receivers. And Jimmy, to me, doesn't fit that offense, but it would make sense for him to go there, because he is proven. He can be a bridge if they can give us a 2nd-round pick for him. And this and that. Keep hearing about the Eagles, which I think if they trade for him, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think they have 3 first-round picks. They have like 16, 17, and 19. Oh, wow. So give me 19 if you want Jimmy. I'll take it. But at the same time, it wouldn't make sense to me, because I feel like Jalen Hurts has more promise.
Yeah.
He contributed just like Jimmy did, of helping getting that team to the playoffs. So you can say what you want. Oh, he's not good. Well, his team was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I feel like he has some promise. But ultimately, I think he goes to the Washington Commanders for a second round pick. And they have an early second, too, because they didn't make the playoffs. So they're picking like in the top 12 to 15 inside the second round. So I feel like Commanders would be the most. I would say the most realistic one. I would have said the Saints before Sean Payton left, but now
Yeah.
that he's gone, I don't see them going after him. But yeah, so I think the Commanders for a second round pick is what we get for Jimmy, or if not a second, it'll be some kind of like they give us a third round pick this year and then like a fourth next year that can turn into a second if they make the playoffs or something like that. So Commanders pick 11th in the second round. So that would be, I think, more realistic because they're not a bad team. That defense is pretty elite. They barely missed the playoffs. He said he wants to go to a winning team, which if you think you're as good as you think you are, you go to that team and win for them.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with the Commanders. I also am interested to see what happens with Carr here in Vegas. Because I could see Jimmy going to Vegas if they do not end up extending Carr.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I know a lot of people are now talking because, a report came out about, the Commanders. I think it was the Commanders sending over their first for Jimmy. And it's just like, I can't see Jimmy getting a first round pick for Jimmy. I just can't see it happening. I think it's a little crazy that we would get a second, but I do know that the quarterback market is not great, and and the quarterbacks coming out aren't great. I do think, I heard that Pittsburgh was, spending a lot of time with Malik at the Senior Bowl. What is it?
Oh yeah. Willis.
Yeah. So I could see maybe Jimmy going there and, Malik sitting, behind Jimmy and Jimmy just going to the same situation he's in right now. But is he going to want to go into a situation like that? I think that the 49ers are going to want to do right by him and, send him where he wants to go to. I think that's going to make a huge difference as well. Like, a huge, that's going to play a big part in it, where he wants to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It'll be interesting to see for sure.
With the Eagles, with them having their 3 first-round picks, and there's a lot of teams who usually, if they had that many picks, they usually will try to trade for a vet anyway. I just don't see Jimmy going for a first, so I agree with this comment here. But at the same time, it's like, if the Eagles have, was it 16, 17, and 19, if they trade us 19, let's just say, and they say, give me Jimmy for 19, cool, I'll take that all day. However, he's going to be in the same situation as he is with San Francisco, because then as soon as he has a bad game, put Hurts in, you know what I'm saying? So he needs to go to a situation where he has no pressure, where he can be the quarterback all year, kind of like if they drafted somebody in the 5th round to groom for maybe a few years until Jimmy's done or whatever the case may be. But if any, because I feel like if he goes to Pittsburgh, or let's just say the Commanders, if he goes to the Commanders, if they trade us a second for him, he doesn't have to worry about anything. He doesn't have to worry about them drafting a first-round quarterback or a third-round quarterback, in my opinion. I think somebody like Pittsburgh would probably be more like, okay, you know what? We got Jimmy. Maybe we give him an extension, because I think this next year his contract is over, I believe.
Yeah.
So once he plays this year, I think they say, okay, we'll give him a 2-year extension, so he'll play a total of 3 years. They'll draft somebody late. They still got Mason Rudolph, which I think he's probably going to be off the team, or, he's a third stringer at best. But, yeah, I don't think he has to be looking over his shoulder as much. But I think they do have Dwayne Haskins. But, again, that's not really a problem. He's not have to look over his shoulder. I mean, look how bad Ben Roethlisberger played this year. He wasn't even benched. So,
yeah. Well, I don't think he could have been out there freaking dying, and they wouldn't have benched him in his last year. So, yeah, I think, and, reports came out too that the 49ers are planning, they want to move Jimmy by the time the new league year starts in March March,
I
whatever
think
it
it's March
is.
16th or whatever it
Yeah.
is, something like that. Yeah.
So I mean, that's gonna be here before we know it. Shit, time
Yeah.
flies.
It's
So
gonna be, like a matter of fact, it's like a month from now.
yeah. So I mean, but if they're gonna wait, if the teams have to wait until the other two get moved, I don't see how Jimmy's gonna get moved before then. I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
So I watched. I'm not sure if you watched it. The Peter King interview with Matt Mayuko. They were
Mm-mm.
talking about. I think it just came out yesterday. And they were talking about Jimmy and Shanahan and a lot about Trey Lance, and um, he says that Kyle knows that he has a good quarterback in Lance. Um, he's the one that said that Kyle wanted to start Lance that he would have been willing to start Lance at the beginning of the season, but he got hurt. He also said he would be surprised if Trey Lance wasn't as good or better than Jimmy was. So, and this is somebody, that's getting the info directly from the team. He's not, he's actually talking to John and Kyle. He's
Yeah.
not just saying, oh, I heard from players that, and then he said that, the thing, and that they were planning on to even start Trey that last game of the season. After Jimmy had, after Trey, had played the Texans. But they said that Kyle, was going back and forth with it, but they decided to just go with Jimmy since Jimmy, had got him there. And, he knew that would obviously cause a problem with the locker room to then, pull Jimmy at that point. So that's why they just rode out with Jimmy. And then he also said, and we talked about this before, is, that Shanahan, how he is with rookies and, the whole unknown factor of rookies and him being comfortable with the vets and everything. And he said, yeah, that, that is it, because, you're handing this young kid the keys to a franchise and not knowing very much about him, and what Jimmy can do, so that's where Kyle was at the time,
For sure. Yep.
but yeah, he said that, but it ultimately came down to not just Jimmy, and the injury thing, but he said that after Shanahan spending that much time with Jimmy, he couldn't see that Jimmy was the guy, and if you spent that much time with somebody, you should be able to know by then, okay, this is my guy. This is the quarterback of the future. This is the franchise guy. And he said he never could feel that with Jimmy, so,
Yeah.
he pretty much said, Lance is his guy. Like, that's finally Shanahan got the guy he wants,
Exactly.
and by him sitting all season, that's what Shanahan's plan was for him because he's so young, that's
Yep.
no bad against Trey, so it's like, I don't know. And then you also had Jim Trotter come out and say, what did he say? What are your thoughts on the whole Peter King thing while I look for this?
No, I mean, I agree, and that puts to bed the whole talk all year that's saying that Kyle didn't get his quarterback. Everybody kept saying. I mean, there was arguments all year. Oh, I don't think that. I think he's not playing Trey because that's not who he wanted. He wanted Mac Jones, and he was talked in to getting Trey Lance by Adam Peters and John Lynch. Like, that puts everything to bed.
Right.
So I think it was opposite, actually. I think maybe Lynch was the one who was like, "Oh, I like Mac Jones," and then that's when Kyle was like, and you and I talked about this back in like March and April of last year, when we were like, if you read between the lines, you can see that Kyle did not want Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he was making these the fact that he said he wanted to play 11 on 11 football shows you right there it wasn't Mac Jones.
Yep.
And then he made the comment of, control like Drew Brees and run like Lamar Jackson. That's not Mac Jones. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he told you what kind of quarterback he was looking for. So,
Jim Trotter is actually the one. Sorry, I had said that Peter King said this, but Jim Trotter is the one that had said that they were going to go with Trey at the beginning of the season, but he got hurt in the preseason.
Yeah, when he hurt his finger or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think people are really like up in arms, obviously, about the whole Montana thing, and Ryan Clark's just an idiot. We could see that. But I mean, if you watch the Texans game, I don't know how you could watch that game. And I know you say the second half, but I don't think he played bad in the first half.
No,
so I say I don't know how you can watch the whole Texans game and not see what we have and be excited about the future. Like there's people legit like wishing for like bad against Trey, like wishing Trey to fail. Like Jimmy's gone, like I hate to break it to you. He's not going to be here. There's no way that he's going to be here.
Yeah, no.
So why again are you hating on this kid that's going to be the quarterback of your team? Unless you plan on going with Jimmy, then you're more than welcome.
Yeah. Well, no, you're right. And the thing with Trey, I think everybody always brings up the second half with Trey because it was more exciting. That's when he threw his touchdown passes and stuff like that. But you're right. I think he was like 10 for 14 or 11 for 14 in the first half. He didn't like he executed the offense. I just think it wasn't sexy. Like it wasn't like, oh my God, did you see that throw? And then the second half, he kind of came alive. Like he settled down a little bit. And then, so, yeah, I mean, I just like you said, though, I don't know how you can look at that game, especially somebody like a Joe Montana, and sit here and think like, oh, I don't think Trey Lance is ready. Like, how much more ready? Like, and it's funny, too, because, like, they're dismissing the fact the week before they played us, they went and beat a Justin Herbert Chargers team. I mean, they picked him off like 3 times. And Trey, he sat there and he did his thing. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, and I just feel bad, like, because it's not like, Montana's around, every so often when at the home games and shit. And it's like, you think Trey wants to be like around this freaking guy that's been done nothing but talk shit about him? Like,
yeah,
like you would think the quarterbacks, of the past would like support, the new quarterbacks as well. Like that's just odd to me. Like he didn't even need to say anything. Like, it was so unnecessary for him to even come out and say shit.
Mm-hmm.
At least Ryan Clark, like, yeah, his shit was, crazy, but I mean, that's what he does.
Yeah.
Like Joe Montana, like, go, you're retired. Go sit down somewhere. Like, why are you even talking? Like, there's no reason for you to be talking shit about the kid. That's why I get more mad at Montana about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be, like, sticking up for this team, but it seems like he has more of a love for Kansas City. Like, he sticks up for them and shit a lot more.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely been, it also, I had read, when I was looking up that stuff, that KJ Wright, the linebacker that used to play for the Seahawks.
For the Seahawks, yeah. What did he say?
He said last offseason that the 49ers reached out to him and that he talked to John Lynch, and John Lynch asked him to come in for a workout, but that the 49ers only offered him vet minimum, and that, he said he called it a dog shit offer from San Francisco, and that he didn't even come in for the workout because you'll never see his name next to a vet minimum contract, and that, he took offense to it.
Well, we didn't need him because Azeez Al-Shaair, he stepped up tremendously. So
yeah,
go ahead and stay with the Raiders, bro. We didn't need you anyway.
Right. I forgot I had wanted to touch on this last week, but we didn't have a show. Since we, live in Vegas, we've seen, the thing with Kamara happen at the Pro Bowl, and obviously the stuff that's happened with the Raiders. And of course, it comes back to the problem being Vegas. Well, that's what happens. Why did you, you shouldn't put a football team in Vegas, and, Vegas this and Vegas that. It's all Vegas's fault, right? What are your thoughts? You had posted something on it that I wanted you to talk about that situation.
Well, to me, is accountability. Like, everybody's like, well, Vegas, promotes drinking and this and that. Well, other cities do too. Everybody, like, I don't know any city that doesn't have happy hour. I don't know any city that doesn't do deals on drinks and stuff like that. So to sit there and, blame it on a city is foolishness. The city is not making you pay for alcohol. A city is not paying you to get in your car drunk. Like, come on now. Like, there's people who have lived in Vegas their whole lives, and people want to say, yeah, but people don't have the money like these. It doesn't matter. It still comes down to decision making.
Right.
When I lived in San Diego, me and my Navy buddies used to come to Vegas all the time. I was 21, 22 years old, and we used to pop bottles, you know how it is here when you can order the table and get bottle
Yeah.
service and stuff like that. We sat there and got bottle service, and we were smart. We didn't sit there and went out and act a fool and get in the car drunk and stuff like that. So people can miss me with this. Oh, it's Vegas's fault. No, it's the individual's fault. These grown men need to take accountability for their actions. I don't care where they're at. I don't care if they're in Salt Lake City where they don't do all this stuff, or whatever the case may be. Like, you're an adult. The decision is yours. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like I said, and I tell people we have the WNBA team. I know people say, yeah, but they're women. They don't party like men. Baloney. Women here know how to party. So I don't know what you're talking about. Then you got the Aces. You got the baseball team. You got the professional hockey team that's here. So I don't want to hear this nonsense of like, oh, well, it's a mistake. I shouldn't have put it in Vegas. And other than the Alvin Kamara thing, yeah, we had the Henry Ruggs situation that happened, and then we had Josh Jacobs. He got a DUI. And then you had the Damon Arnett that had a gun. Like, and who knows, like, it was never reported that it was registered. Like, if he had a gun in his car, so what? I have
Yeah.
a gun in my car all the time.
Right.
But it's legal. It's registered. Yeah. So if I get pulled over, they find a gun. So what? It's mine. Yeah. Like I bought it. It's registered. So yeah, I just don't agree with that. People don't like to hold people accountable. Like, I don't care what the situation is. Like, these are adults who have, and like we talked about, all the high rises here that they live in have limo service and all this other stuff. Like, be smart and utilize your resources instead of thinking you're invincible and like, oh, I can drive. It's not too far. It's only 2 miles away. And like, yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah, and like you said, oh, well, it's different because they have money. Yeah, it's different because they have money. They can pay, even if they're not staying in a high rise or whatever, they can pay, they have the money to pay for somebody to drive them, to pay for to pay for an Uber, to pay for a taxi, to pay for just a driver in general to freaking be driving their ass around.
Or
if, you're
just
not
a room on the strip. They can just get a
Yeah.
room on the strip. Hey, you know what? I'm drunk. I don't want to leave. You got a room available? You give me your best suite because you got the money for it. So it's ridiculous. Like, I don't want to hear this nonsense.
And like you had told me right before we started the show, you were in Arizona and they have drive-through liquor shops, like we don't have that in Vegas, like, yet Vegas is the crazy place, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I swear, like I went to go visit a friend who lived kind of in the hood, and I swear, like, every other block, drive-through liquor stores.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then he told me, yeah, they're all over the place. Like, it's just not in the hood. Like, I go, really? He goes, yeah, they're everywhere. So you got the Phoenix Suns, you got the Arizona Cardinals, you got the Diamondbacks. I don't hear them getting in trouble when they have drive-through liquor stores. So miss me with that.
Yeah. I mean, and we're not the only city that has, there's plenty of cities that have clubs and has nightlife. It's not just Vegas yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, like you said, I don't hear about the Golden Knights players getting arrested, and and most of those players actually live here full time.
Yep.
It's not, they don't just travel back and forth like other teams players. Like they have homes here, their families live here, they're here 24/7. That they could be getting in trouble, and they don't. Like, so I don't know. Like, I really hope that the bad decisions of these few players don't stop the NFL from doing things in Vegas in the future.
Yeah.
Because that'll suck.
I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, it shouldn't be too bad. They're talking about possibly even putting an NBA team here in the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and they're talking about, like, the baseball team. What's the one from California?
The A's.
Yeah.
The Oakland A's,
here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. But I completely agree. It's, up to the person. Like, those people, chose to get behind the car, drive drunk, to get behind the wheel like that. It's a shame.
Yep.
You talked about it earlier. It was announced, or it was released or dropped or whatever the hell, that Well, we knew Ayuk and Lance would be working out together this summer, which I love, of course. And that Lance now will be working with John Beck as well, the quarterback guru, John Beck. So that's good. That's, a thing that we liked about Lance, from early on, is that he's a hard worker and, that he puts in the time. And obviously he's been told that he couldn't play quarterback before, and we see how that worked out in college. So, I love that now all these people decide that he, again, can't play quarterback. So I really hope that he shows up and silences these people.
I want to comment to this Ruben Luna guy.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't understand, brother, is we need Jimmy's salary off the books. Like I said, I'm never going to be mad about somebody's opinion. If you think that Jimmy's better and he's better for the team right now to win the Super Bowl, so be it. Like, I'm not going to disrespect your opinion. But you got to remember, Deebo Samuel's in his last year. He's going to get paid. And John Lynch already said that his salary was already in the budget. So the fact that we have to pay him, we have to pay Boza, do you realize that if we keep Jimmy at $25 million a year, how many people that we would lose on defense? So now you want to talk about unproven players. We can lose a Laken Tomlinson. We can lose a Tart. We can lose a DJ Jones and bring in all these rookies with our draft picks. But I don't hear nobody talking about them. Nobody's talking about, oh, well, we have a rookie. We depended on the rookie all year at running back, and there was no issue. So the fact that you're sitting here saying that, oh, wait, this guy's unproven and Jimmy gives us the best chance to win. Well, if that's the case, if you're going off of what a vet can do better, then why couldn't Jeff Wilson or Jermichael Hasty beat out Elijah Mitchell? They know the playbook. They've been around for a couple of years. That doesn't matter. It depends on the individual. It doesn't matter how much time somebody has on the offense or a defense. So the simple fact that you're saying keep Jimmy, if, like I said, we keep him, we're sacrificing losing a lot of pieces on that defense, because the offense is pretty well set except for that offensive line. But as far as the defense, we're losing a lot of players. So you're willing to sacrifice mediocre quarterback play, because as you know, so there's a difference. If you're a fan of football, or do you look at the nuances of football? If you're just looking at football and thinking, oh, Jimmy can do this and do this and that, as you know, as a 49ers fan, Jimmy was carried by the team. That he didn't carry them. So the run game with Elijah Mitchell, you got the defense who carried him. So you can put Jimmy third on a totem pole of who was responsible for the team wins. It's not like the Bills where you say, oh, man, it was Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Herbert. Jimmy's third on this list of why this team was successful. So keeping him on this team would not be a smart business decision and not a good team decision, because with the Trey Lance making $9 million a year, you can use that $25 million with Jimmy elsewhere to shore up this team, because I totally believe if we had this exact same team with Trey starting, that the record would have been at least 10-7, if not better. So that's my thoughts on that.
Right. And if we can't play players, who's going to carry Jimmy to the wins?
Exactly. So it's just funny how people say, "Oh, well, we need Jimmy because he gives us the best chance to win, and a rookie can't go in there and do the job." Well, that can be said for all positions, because, like I said, we keep Jimmy, and then we shore up that defense with nothing but rookies. That's going to be an issue.
I can't believe that. I thought after the last game of the season, or after we got kicked out of the playoffs, that we wouldn't have to talk about Jimmy anymore, because he's leaving. He's not going to be here. So who gives a shit? Like, whatever you're saying doesn't matter, because he's not going to be here. He's not going to be our quarterback anymore. So whatever you think, it doesn't fucking matter. He's not going to be here. So get over it. Go cry about Jimmy. Go follow Jimmy to wherever he wants to go if you don't like freaking Trey. But Jimmy will not be on this fucking team. He's not going to be the quarterback of the 49ers anymore. Experience, fucking wins, whatever. He's not going to be here. Sexy jawline, I don't give a shit. He's not going to be the quarterback of the 49ers. So it doesn't matter. Like, I'm so fucking done talking about Jimmy. Like, oh my God.
Man, talk to him, Miriah. Talk to him. She said
Jesus.
sexy jawline and all. He's gone.
Yeah. Fuck. It's crazy. It's so crazy that like people stand up for this guy like he's your husband. Like he's not, you're not married to the guy. He'll come out later, but he's not out right now. You can't marry him right now. Soon. Okay? But not right now. So stop sticking up for the guy. Like shit. Like, are you gonna go this hard for freaking Trey Lance when he's our quarterback? Because he's our quarterback.
At least for the next 4 years.
Or next year, you're still gonna be talking about fucking Jimmy. Oh, well, Jimmy could have done this. Jimmy could have done that. Well, he's doing it on another team. Go watch him play there. Please. Fuck. Can't take it. Can't freaking take it.
I'll bring you some Tylenol because I know these takes are giving you a headache.
Man, it's like just so old. We had to hear this for the whole season. Like the whole freaking season. And now the season's over and people are still won't shut up about him. It's like, it's crazy.
What I laugh about the situation, people want to bring up the record, is they're comparing him to backup quarterbacks of one guy who wasn't even drafted.
Exactly.
And then you're coming with backups. It's not like his backup is somebody like a Tyrod Taylor or a Mitch Trubisky, somebody who can get the job done, or a Marcus Mariota. You got Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard. I hope you have a better winning record than they do.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
That's who they're comparing the guy to. Guys that, can't even freaking be anything on other teams.
Exactly.
Like, oh my God. Like, let's compare like a starting running back to guys that are freaking on the practice squad and say, well, how come they can't have the same production as this guy? Some people, Jimmy's a starting quarterback. He's a starting, caliber quarterback, but he's not good enough for this team. He's not good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Period.
And
you know what's funny about that? People stick up for Jimmy and say he gives us the best chance to win, when in the modern era, he is the worst fourth quarter quarterback in playoff history.
Yeah.
Worst. But you want to sit here and say he gives us the best chance to win when the dude is trash when it comes to the playoffs. You literally have to take the ball out of his hands because you're scared for him to make a mistake. We have to go into every game banking on our quarterback's going to throw at least one interception.
Yeah.
I don't hear Chiefs fans talking like that. Well, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw a pick, if Josh Allen doesn't throw a pick, we said it with Jimmy. Like, well, everything has to be perfect for Jimmy to get his W's. Like, miss me with that. Like, you guys are unbelievable.
And they can't win when it counts. So what does it really matter? All those season wins doesn't do a damn bit of good if you can't win the fucking Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Like, that's what they're playing for.
Yeah. Worst fourth quarter quarterback in playoff history. But you're riding for this dude.
It's like people are so happy with freaking being mediocre. Like, I can't freaking stand it. Your own head coach wants to replace the guy. Your GM wants to replace the guy. That's why they went out and drafted somebody else. It's not just us. They don't even like the fucking guy. They're telling you. Look how much draft capital they gave up for freaking Trey Lance. And you still think they want Jimmy? Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's hella crazy. Let's let everybody else on the team walk so that we have Jimmy here.
Exactly. Let Tomlinson walk, DJ Jones walk, because, Jimmy gives us the best chance to win with the worst fourth quarter QBR in NFL history. Come on.
Yeah. I already bet the 49ers to win the Super Bowl next season with Lance starting. So, I put my money on it already. And obviously, Kyle thinks the same because he's starting him this season too. So
I love his comment. He said Kyle loves him. He loved him so much to trade 2 future firsts and swap a first to replace him, but he loves him.
He loves him, but he's trading his ass out of there this freaking offseason, right? Like, it already came out that he couldn't have Jimmy. He couldn't see Jimmy being the guy. Like, that tells you all you need to know right there. He can't see Jimmy being the future quarterback. the franchise quarterback. So he went out and traded for somebody that he can see being the franchise quarterback. So, like, get over it. I'm done. We're done talking about Jimmy. Pointless. Like, no other team's fans, if you go in spaces and listen or go to other teams' podcasts and listen, they're like scared to death that their team's going to get Jimmy. Nobody's excited to get Jimmy. Trust me.
Yeah, there's a Pittsburgh fan. I think you know who I'm talking about. Comes into the 49ers spaces. He's terrified that Pittsburgh might trade for Jimmy.
And if you think this, then really, you know, there's no point of even talking to you because you're clearly fucking delusional. Like, I'm done talking to this guy. Thank you for kicking it with us, but I need to go to sleep and I need to not be pissed off when I go to sleep. Thanks. This conversation is over. Hit the thumbs down, thumbs up on the way out. Appreciate you. Thanks for getting the count up. It's been fun. Have a great night. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what kind of exciting stuff happens this week.
Yeah.
And maybe, yeah, we're going to have some guests on really soon. Some people that y'all know, some people that are part of 49ers world and some that aren't. But yeah, it should be good.
Yeah. I think the stuff with Lance, you said you wanted to talk about the people who are talking positive about him. I think the positive talk has been kind of, I would say, like 70-30. You know, I think a lot of people who, you know, there's a lot of people who were writing for Jimmy, but now they know he's gone. But all the positive stuff that's coming out for Lance, they're like, oh man, he looks good. I can't wait for the future and stuff like that. So I'm happy. You know, there's a lot of people. And I think once we get into week 1, week 2, and we start seeing Trey making plays, all this foolishness is going to go away. We're going to have to worry about anything like all the doubts and stuff like that. And it's because, you know, just like kind of what we mentioned earlier, it's like, you know, you got the people who just don't think he's ready because like I said, they want to be right. They want to be right about who they wanted in Fields and Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, wherever the case they wanted. But I think a lot of the times too is people were looking at his school. Well, he didn't play against anybody. He didn't, you know, his competition sucked and this and that. Well, you know, there's so many people in college right now. I mean, look at Cooper Kupp, Division II player.
Yeah.
And he's out there killing it. He arguably the best receiver. Yeah, arguably the best receiver. So this, he didn't play against anybody stuff is ridiculous. If you're a football player, you're a football player. And you as a Niners fan should understand that with Jerry Rice coming out of Mississippi Valley State. He came out of one of the smallest schools that you can think of, and yet the dude's the best to ever do it. So it's all about the player. I don't care about what school they went to. I don't care about the competition they played. If you can play football, you can figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, he just called Lance a running quarterback. So, I mean, that's all you need to know right there.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Because I mean, clearly Lance friggin' looks to throw before he looks to run. You know.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm sure you want to compare him to Kaepernick as well, right?
Yeah,
they're all
probably.
the same. I'm sure. Yeah, that's all.
But then you know what's funny about that is, like, you know, you got these other black quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, who has been a beast. Donovan McNabb, who did it, Steve McNair, Randall Cunningham, but yet, you know, that was going to pull out he's a running quarterback. Just because they're great athletes doesn't mean they don't know how to play the quarterback position.
Lamar Jackson is running quarterback.
Yeah, if you look at Lance, he looks to throw the football first. He stays in that pocket and runs only if he has to.
Yep.
So, yeah, these people do not know football.
Yeah. Like somebody said earlier, can't wait for Lance to just shut him up, you know. Yep. And I have faith that he will, because that's what he's done his whole life. So what else?
Well, I mean, and you hit the nail on the head too. I'm gonna bank on somebody who didn't quit. Somebody who, you know, who got offers for D1 from like Ohio State and stuff like that to play the linebacker position. We want you to play linebacker. He was like, that's not what I want to do. He banked on himself. He got in the weight room. He started looking at the film and became a quarterback. I mean, this dude, he wasn't even wanted at quarterback, and yet he was a 3rd overall pick in last year's draft. That should tell you something. He wants it. He wants it bad. He's going to put in the work, the necessary work. And then the man, I mean, for the fact that the kid's 21 and he said, I'm not throwing a Super Bowl party because I was supposed to be in it, I'm not watching it. I mean, I'm going to give Lance his props. At 21, I was not as close as mature as this kid is. I was a knucklehead.
Right.
I was looking to fight, get drunk. And this kid's level-headed. The fact that Kyle trusts a 21-year-old kid to take the reins of this football team says a lot.
Yep. I agree.
Yep. Yeah, they wanted him to play safety and linebacker. They were like, we want you to play on defense. He was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the major things that I like about the guy is his work ethic, his, determination, like we've seen that he puts in the work and gets better. We had Jimmy all these years and never seen the guy get better. He still had the same mistakes, did the same shit from when we first got him till this last year. The season just ended. The guy never fucking got better. He got worse. At least Lance, we've seen. We've only seen 2 games from him, and we've seen a huge difference of him getting better throughout that time. Like, what would make you think that he wouldn't continue to fucking get better?
And this is my question I want to have for everybody in the comment section. Lance playing against the Texans. Lance playing against the Texans this game. You look at his stats and the way he quarterbacked that game was just as good, if not better, than any other games that Jimmy played.
Yeah.
So to sit there and be worried about what he's gonna do, like, I don't get it. Like, what did Jimmy do to wow your socks off?
And yet the quarterback we have right now, people call him Jittery G because he's so jittery in the freaking pocket.
Yeah, like,
and you're worried about this guy panicking? Like, seriously?
Yeah, like, it's laughable.
This guy,
I agree with you, Pinor. I agree with you, Pinor.
Like,
the fact that he banked on himself, like, I'll take a person like that all day. Somebody who said, you know what, screw you. He could have went to some of these top-notch colleges, but he's like, nah, I'm gonna go because if you're good, they're gonna find you.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'll play quarterback in North Dakota State, where Carson Wentz, where he set the precedents to go out and do something. You know what I mean? So he went there, he banked on himself, and like I said, the fact that he went before a Justin Fields from Ohio State and a Mac Jones at Alabama just says something. They say he was the smartest quarterback in this draft class. And the fact that, and everybody always talks about Kyle, every quarterback said that Kyle has a complex playbook. Lance knew the whole playbook by midseason. Kyle said it himself. He knows the full playbook, just needs reps.
Yeah. And the only way you're going to get better with any of the stuff, is by freaking playing.
Yep.
Like, oh, no, let's sit you for 5 years and then expect you to go in and take us to the Super Bowl. Like, that's not how this shit works. Like, if you played sports, any type of sports, that you can't just, like, play sports for 9 years straight and then sit for 5 years and then, okay, go back in like it's nothing. Like, that's not how shit works. You have to continue to play to get better. Not, oh, we'll sit you on the bench and hope that you're going to learn to be better with your progressions.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Oh, my God. I'm done.
So, yeah, in saying all this, I think, 90% of the people on here, except for a certain amount, think that our future is bright. I'll say it. I said it all season. I'll say it again. I don't see any. When I see Trey in the lineup, I don't see a downgrade when it came to Jimmy. I saw an upgrade.
Right.
So the fact that I see an upgrade as far as, and two, it's like he makes so many changes on the other team's defense. When it was the other quarter, when it was Jimmy, it was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna play inside the numbers. We're gonna play this, and that. So it was easier for them to put 8 in the box, whatever the case may be. We can't do that with Trey Lance, even if he does have problems holding onto the ball as a little longer or whatever the case may be. That's gonna come with time. He's gonna see that. He's gonna, like you said. We said it against the Texans. Juwan Jennings, he threw the ball before Juwan Jennings would even hitting his brakes.
Yeah.
And the ball was there as soon as Juwan Jennings turned around. granted, it was low, but the fact that he made that throw before he was in and out of his breaks, that says a lot. So I'm not worried about his progressions.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I mean, you look at the blueprint that has been going on. You got the Bengals, even though they lost. I mean, they went to a Super Bowl on a rookie contract for quarterback. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl. Stuff like that. So I think that's the blueprint. You get yourself a quarterback who can execute your offense. You use that extra money to shore up all your holes. Get a few elite players, and that's how you win the Super Bowl.
Yep, I agree. I'm done. You're
Yeah,
done.
that sounds good.
I
appreciate
everybody here,
you guys in the comments. Yep, for sure.
even you, Ruben.
Yeah, I appreciate your input because you made our show go a little bit longer with your foolishness. But hey, I appreciate it.
I hope Lance will be here when Lance shows you wrong. You can come back and tell us.
Yeah.
That you're now a Lance fan.
Yeah.
We'll be here waiting.
I appreciate that for 49ers Lakers for life. And here's the thing too, I'll say this before we end the show. It's comical that people are expecting these great things from Lance in his first year as a starter for the same thing as an 8-year vet. Like, I know Jimmy played 8 years, but I want Lance to come in and do the exact same thing. I heard somebody say that if Lance doesn't take us to a Super Bowl in 2 years, it's a failure because Jimmy did it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you're giving them expectation for somebody who's had numerous years in this league that's 30 years old to somebody that's 21. Like, are you kidding me? So that just goes to show you how dumb, and I hate to say this, how dumb some of this fan base is. Like, they don't get it.
Yeah, it is. It's sad, really.
Yeah.
Pinor says, thank you to Trey Lance's parents for making love and giving us Trey. Shout out Trey Lance's parents.
Hey, real spill though. And I've said this before. There's a couple of new people on the show that's come into the comment section, but I'll say this before, and I love saying it. That's why I say it so much. But really, when I was going through the draft process, I didn't know who I wanted at quarterback. Honestly, like I always thought that Trevor Lawrence was probably the best one to come out. But at the same time, after I started doing my research and, looking at film study and stuff like that, I was like, Trey Lance has to be the guy. I'm like, he comes from a pro style offense. He has a cannon for an arm. He's smart. But the thing that got me to really like Trey is that, and I've told the story before. So you know how he went to his dad, and then he told his dad, like, hey, Dad, I want you to, I want him to get up every morning and go train and go play football, go lift weights, this and that every morning at 5 o'clock. And this would have been my reaction to my son. Cause I'm like, you want me to get up at 5 o'clock and go with you to run 2 miles and do whatever the case may be? His dad was like, no, I'm not doing that. But if you want to train, you come and wake me up. And he said that Trey would wake him up 4 times a week at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they would go run, look at film, because his dad played in the CFL as a corner, and he was in training camp with the Niners as a rookie, but he didn't make it, so he went to the CFL. So his dad has football pedigree. So he got up every morning, trained with his dad at 4 times a week at 5 o'clock in the morning. If that doesn't show you I want this, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Niner by nature. What up, brother?
Yep, I agree.
So, yeah.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
Yeah.
And yeah, like TL said earlier, we're working on getting some earlier shows and a Saturday show and guests and all that good stuff. So be patient.
Yeah.
It's coming.
For all you East Coast and Midwest cats, I know you guys, it's a little later for you guys. I know it's midnight on the East Coast, so.
Yeah. I mean, now with my schedule these days, it's even past my bedtime.
For sure.
No, actually, this is the time I've been getting up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, fam. Take care. See you next week.
Yep. Everybody have a great night, great week. Stay safe, everybody.